everyone, welcome back to a new video. I'm coming at you on the same day as the miraculous skid steer startup, so I'm riding a bit of a high today. But it's time to feed calves, so let's go feed some calves, and then we're gonna hop right into the Q&A video that I promised you guys a couple of weeks ago now. It's very snowy and cold outside, so I don't mind sitting down and answering a bunch of questions because I don't feel guilty for not being outside. So let's get the work done and then we can answer questions. These lights are so bright. They just got put in today after the morning calf feeding. You gonna get up? Or do I have to climb all the way in there? These panels are not quite ready yet, so they're held with these rubber things, but that makes them more difficult to open, so. These two don't look very hungry, but if I get them up, then they will be. Alright, folks, it is the Q&A portion of the video. I'm going to do my best to answer these quickly and efficiently because there were a lot. The first question is, when did you get married? I got married to my husband back in the middle of July. I have posted pictures on Instagram and on TikTok. I will put a few pictures over the top of the video here. We had a very nice summer wedding. It was perfectly in between harvests, and it was a very nice small wedding by Saskatchewan standards. I think we had about 80 people come out. It was a very nice private wedding, and the party and the food were amazing. My uncle did the ceremony, and my sister was my maid of honor. There was a lot of family involvement. My cousin did all of the flowers. So there was just, it was a perfect wedding, and really happy that we were finally able to tie the knot. It was a perfect day. Like literally nothing went wrong, and I'm so thankful that we did it when we did, because I'm a very happy wifey now. My plan for all the goats, I know it's kind of hard to keep up with it because every time I post a video there's new subscribers and there's new people, but for now the plan is just to keep it meat goats and then do maybe a little bit of experimentation with the dairy side of goat products with my Nigerian dwarfs. What was the old barn used for originally on your property? I'm pretty sure it was an old dairy barn. There are a bunch of old headlockers that are in there that were taken out so that the barn could be used for other things, but originally it was a dairy barn. My interests besides farming. There are a lot. I have a lot of hobbies that I really enjoy doing that I kind of don't have a whole lot of time to do. So one of them is kind of puttering around and playing music. I only use the guitar to do like single note strums for my singing, so that is a hobby that I used to be way more into, but now because I'm busy trying to build up a ranch with my husband, that hobby has fallen to the back burner. I also really like to collect antiques and vintage clothing. So like this rocking chair I got in an antique store. It's a little creaky, but it's still doing its job. I can still sit in it. I have some old chairs here that were gifted to me by my Beppe that are also antiques, and I also used to draw and paint a lot. That my degree in university was actually a Bachelor of Fine Arts with a focus in acting, so I'm an actor by my schooling degree, which honestly, a lot of people are like, how the heck do you apply that? I would say that it applies to my personal life a lot, because I used to be unbelievably shy. I couldn't talk to strangers. And now I have still a lot of nerves when I'm talking to people that I don't know, but I can handle it now. I am a lot more well-versed in having a handle on myself and how I portray myself to other people. Does your husband work with you on your farm, or is he at another job? He does both. He works full-time at a job off farm so that we can both have some benefits, and he helps me on his days off. But for the most part, the daily management is my job, which is what we knew going into it. He is not a farm guy by birth, but he is learning. So eventually the plan is that we will both be working full-time here on the goat ranch, and then that will be the future, but it is more than likely a bit more in the distant future. Is it hard being a YouTuber and putting yourself out there? Yes, it is sometimes, because a lot of people want more than I'm willing to give, if that makes sense. I am a very private person, and a lot of people want more personal, private content, and I'm at a point in my life where I'm not gonna share a lot of personal things. It's a dairy on the prairie, and my YouTube channel is a focus of basically like a personal diary of me going through the daily jobs on the dairy farm, and now also building up a goat ranch. And so I don't feel it necessary to share a bunch of personal things. I think it's very difficult to take that back once you put it out there, and once people are used to a certain boundary you have set, it's very hard to reset that if you have put too much out there. So for the most part, I like to keep it plain and simple. It's a farming, daily vlogging, kind of farm girl diaries channel, and that's where it's gonna stay. I also started this YouTube channel about 2 years into my relationship with my husband. At the time, he was my boyfriend. So it was kind of like a thing that we discussed together. What are we willing to put out there? What are we willing to share? He doesn't like having a camera in his face, which is why he doesn't appear on the YouTube channel. So that's, you know, a boundary that I want to respect, because it's not fun to constantly have a camera in your face if you don't like that. Is it wonderful working with your family? It seems like a very cool setup. Sometimes it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. I think every family has their spats and their arguments and their fights that they have to get through, and it's not always easy, and it's not always fun. And that is the blatant reality of working with your family. However, I think the pros far outweigh the cons. It's a true blessing to be able to work with my parents the way that I get to work with them. It's a blessing that I get to work with my brother and my sister the way I get to work with them. If I worked off farm, I wouldn't get to see them nearly as much as I do. Like, I get to spend every single day with my mom and my dad and my brother and my sister, and we're all working together and we're helping each other to get the jobs done around the farm. There's obviously hired help, but I'm really thankful for the amount of time that I do get to spend with my family. The horses, that's a question that gets asked a lot here too. They're still at my parents' dairy farm. I don't have a place to put them here yet. I was too busy with the wedding this summer and, you know, getting some stuff ready for the goats so that they could be safe and healthy during the winter. So they're still at my parents' dairy farm, but they're doing well. The younger one that I have out of the two young ones, Luna, she's gonna go off for training in mid-December, I'm hoping, so that she can finally be a horse that I can ride. I trained Freya myself, so she's green broke, but Luna, I'm just not a well-versed enough horse trainer to be able to train her the way she should be trained. I feel I'm out of my depth with that horse, and so to be safe, I am getting her trained by a professional because I get frustrated with her a lot, and I can't read her the way I can read Freya. So for my safety and for the horse's safety, I have chosen to outsource training her because that is the best option for all parties involved. The cheese that Miriam makes, will it be shipped off farm? And yes, I think what we're going to try and do for the most part is like online orders, and then I need to do a cheesy video with Miriam and then have her answer a bunch of your questions. But the plan is for people to be able to order online and get it sent to them through the mail. Do you have any A2 cows in your herd? Yes, we do. We have used A2 bulls, and so as a result we do have A2 cows in the herd, but we are not really doing anything with it at this time. Is winter prep different for goats compared to cows? I think it is vastly different just because goats don't handle the cold as well. I'm trying to create a goat that will handle the winter with the same prep as the cows get, so that they're a bit more of a low maintenance animal. Obviously with that you have growing pains, and sometimes that is really difficult to wrap your head around, but for the most part they are very different animals, and it's a big learning curve to try and get some healthy goats out here in Saskatchewan. Do you have any plans to make goat cheese? I do not. Maybe in the future, but as it is right now, I don't have any plans to make goat cheese. I am busy enough trying to get these meat goats in order, so there's no dairy goat plans for now. Will you eventually leave your folks' farm and only work on your own farm? And yes, that's the answer to that. I will eventually leave the dairy farm and work here, and I'm hoping that I can do a couple of other things that will sort of round out the day and fill up my time in the future. I'll still always do field work for my family because it's always handy to be able to have somebody that can just hop on a machine and, you know, help cutting, help do this, help do that. So I know that there's always going to be something that I can do to help out at the dairy farm. Of my own land, my husband and I own 39.6 acres. How do you assign different jobs and tasks on the farm? Mostly it's just kind of something that has worked itself out over time. We haven't really, I don't know, designated stuff. It's just kind of, hey, can you help with this? Hey, can you help with that? And then eventually over time it just becomes your job. You seem to name all of your goats. How hard will it be for you to send them for meat when you are that close to them? That's a good question. It applies also to the dairy farm. All of the cows at the dairy farm, except Pumpkin, will also end up on the meat truck. So all the cows also all have names. Recently, Periwinkle, Pumpkin's mom, actually was made a cull cow, so when she's done milking, she will go on the meat truck. And a cow that I really love and adore named Beyonce was also made a cull cow because she's got fertility problems. So when she's done milking, she will also go on the meat truck. For me, it's a very important thing. I like to name them because they have different personalities. It creates individuality between the animals. And it just, I care about them and it helps me differentiate them from each other. But the aspect of naming a meat goat to get close to them and then send them on the truck, I don't think it's that different than naming a dairy cow that you get to work with for 3, 4, 5, 6, however many years you work with them, and then also sending them on the truck. Like, it's, I think, to withhold affection from an animal simply so that you don't get close to it is sad. Like, all of the love you can give an animal, you should give it, and then when it's time to say goodbye, you can rest assured that you gave it the best life possible and that you have no regrets with how it was treated. Like, we treat all of our animals with the utmost care possible, and I feel like giving every animal a name is part of that care. And maybe it makes saying goodbye harder in the end, but I feel that you can't withhold love and affection just because you'll get hurt in the end. It's a sad way to live life if that's how you want to approach working with livestock. What machines are you comfortable running? For me, mostly is the skid steer. I use that thing almost every single day. And then I use the Macdon swather during the summer. And then there are a couple of tractors, like this summer I learned how to use the baler, so I can use that one very amateurly. So those are kind of the main machines that I'm comfortable running. Is there a job on the farm that you really dislike or maybe even refuse to do? I hate bedding up animals. I love the end result, but the amount of dust and aggravation that happens, even if you wear a mask, it'll get in your eyeballs. I hate it. I love the end result, but the physical act of bedding up is my least favorite job on the farm, and if I can get out of it, I will. Especially since earlier this year, I ended up going for allergy testing because I was having some reactions and I didn't know why. So it turns out that I'm allergic to cats, which is unfortunate because Fritz the cat retired 2 years ago and he lives as a house cat now. He's 15 years old. And I'm also allergic to pollens and molds that happen seasonally. So in the spring when the snow melts and everything's kind of wet and gross and yucky, and also in the fall when the leaves fall off the trees, kind of get like moldy and start decomposing. Those particles that hang around in the air are very difficult to deal with sometimes. What made you decide to get a dog? I am tired of chasing the goats myself, so I would really love it if she could do that for me. And I'm 28 years old. I've never had my own dog before, and I felt really ready to have one. And I'm thinking like it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm really happy with her. Rookie is so smart. She's only just turned 4 months old. She already knows a bunch of different tricks, and she's just such a joy to be around. Like, everything in that dog's brain is a joy to experience. Like, she just is so happy. She loves everything. She loves everybody, and I think there is a very wise lesson to be learned from that dog and how she approaches life with such joy and vigor. And she's just made living life really fun, I guess. Is Naleen your real name? Yes, it is. Naleen is my real name. I didn't make that up. I was given that name when I was birthed. Where is a place in the world that's on your bucket list that you and your husband would like to visit? We don't really talk about a whole lot of vacationing, I guess, but I think we'd really love to go to Australia and maybe like Mexico together. How did you decide to raise goats? I thought about sheep and then was like, you know what, to start off, I don't want to have so much shearing to do, so I went with goats. I guess is kind of like the main reason. They're technically less maintenance. What are your next projects that you have for your farm? My projects for my farm right now are mostly renovating that old barn so that it can be insulated and more comfortable for kidding, because we will be kidding here in March. Somebody asks if I sell merch, and I do. There are links in the description below if you want to see any of the merch that I do have available. I'm kind of, it's just like the rudimentary, you know, kind of normal A Dairy on the Prairie merchandise, but if you guys want something specific, let me know in the comments. En then the last one. Hoe goed is jouw Nederlands? Dan betrapte ik af en toe op Nederlandse woorden, maar jou eigenlijk nooit. So I think based on that, my Nederlands, my Dutch is pretty decent. I don't use it in a video often because it's more universal to just use English, but I'm fairly fluent in Dutch. If I went to the Netherlands, I could make my way around pretty well, I think. In Dutch. It was actually my first language as a child, and then obviously I went to go to school, and then it starts to get more difficult to keep up the Dutch language just because you're always constantly talking English at school, you're learning in English, you're reading in English, you're communicating in English a lot, so it gets a little bit more difficult over time. But for Dutch at home, we speak a lot of Dutch, so I was luckily able to keep my mother tongue fairly intact. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for today's video. Let me know what you liked about it, what your favorite answer was in the comments section. I'm gonna be really excited to read those. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure you like and subscribe and share it with a friend. I hope this was a bit of an eye-opener into how my brain works, and I hope you guys will be there in the next video. And until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye.